Hey friends, Jeff here. I wanted to share two recent hopefully interesting changes to the WoW maps. One is a big change that will be pretty well known soon, and then the other one is pretty subtle and it might go unnoticed, but really hits close to home for me and my little channel here. But first off, here is the original real Eastern Kingdoms terrain map. And at the northern edge, you have Eastern Plaguelands, and then north of that is this big, flat, unfinished area that's between EPL and the coastline. And the only indication of what was to come in the future is this little area here, where you have this single early version of a blood elf named Adon, and this little path and this empty elven house. And then if you move all the way out past that unfinished, like in between area to the coastline, you get to this little bit of elven architecture here that was like the vanilla version of Quel'Thalas. But otherwise, the northern coastline is here, and there's no more land to the north, even though on the hand-drawn in-game map, it showed that there was supposed to be like this unreachable stuff up here. So anyway, then TBC comes out in 2007, and one of the updates is the addition of the Blood Elves and their city Silvermoon in the Ghostlands area that's in this spot. But it was always sort of weird because you had to go through an instance portal in EPL to get there. And the reason, as many of you know, is that it was as if they said, hey, we're not going to mess with our Eastern Kingdom's original map. We're already building a brand new map of Outlands for this expansion, which is here. And so let's just add the two new areas that are supposedly in Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor to this map. And so they just threw the Ghostlands and Silvermoon up here like this. And incidentally, they did the same thing with Azure Mist Isle, right? The Draenor starting area, which was supposed to be off the northwestern coast of Kalimdor, but technically was on the Outlands map as well down here. And if you're in a TBC client and we're like a GM or on your private client, you can actually fly out of Netherstorm far out toward the northeast. And you actually do reach the Silvermoon area out here. And south of that is like the Zolaman and the Ghostlands stuff. All of that technically on the Outlands map. And this weirdness with Northern Eastern Kingdoms and the Outland map has been this way for every expansion for the last 18 years until now with the beta build version 12.0 point whatever. We see that they've fixed and built out and drastically changed the entire northern portion of Eastern Kingdoms. And if you're following modern WoW, you know that the Midnight expansion is supposed to focus on Quel'Thalas and have a rebuilt Silvermoon City and an expanded Eversong Woods and Ghostlands and Zolaman area. And then completely new is the Voidstorm area over here to the east that's related to the Void Elves, I think. So all of this is brand new, and it finally gave Blizzard a reason to do these areas right in terms of the map and have them be truly part of the Eastern Kingdoms map. And my guess is that the transition between the zones will finally be smoothed out and there'll be no more weird instance portal, and maybe they'll even allow flight over these areas at some point. So that's the big change that will impact everyone that plays modern WoW. The second and more sort of nuanced change is related to the Deadmines, something I talk about often on this channel. And so this is the Deadmines map that you're transported to when you zone in. And it looks like this, and it's got Van Cleef's ship in the center, and the main tunnels of the instance are all under this section of terrain here. And it's got like these huge white sections of flat, unpainted terrain on the edges that you can actually visit if you're able to escape the main areas of the instance and make your way out toward the edges. You get there. And of course, one of the coolest and most well-known sort of behind the scenes type areas in the entire game is the early Outlands type terrain that's inside the Deadmines instance that WoW explorers have been visiting for 2 decades now. And if you've seen my other videos, you know I recently documented this stuff and set out to correct the Deadmines map, right? To add this Outland stuff using coordinates and the overhead screenshots and other stuff that I had created. And I came up with this version of the WoW Deadmines map, showing where the Outland stuff really was in relation to the normal Deadmines areas and how it was oriented and what it looked like. But again, the real Deadmines map in the game has been unchanged for 20 years. and there aren't many different build versions of it, but they were all mostly the same. Until again, the new 12.0 Midnight Beta showed up recently, and I was really surprised to see this new Deadmines map, and Blizzard actually either created or re-exported the true terrain that's in the Deadmines instance to this map, and you can see sort of finally the official version of this kind of legendary Outlands type stuff that's inside Deadmines. And I was surprised, and I felt almost like vindicated or validated in getting some confirmation that my map here was at least pretty close to the actual version. Maybe I was slightly off in sizing the big scar area in the land, but I had the locations pretty close. So anyway, I love this kind of largely meaningless stuff in WoW. And if you don't know, most of the exploring I do is using tools like this one, which is part of the WoW Tools site, originally created by Marlamin to capture and preserve and explore all of WoW's in-game assets. I also use the amazing WoW.Export program, which was created by Kruithne, and it lets you view and export all of WoW's maps and models and other stuff, audio, items, and tons more from either Blizzard's live content delivery system or your own local files. And I've said it before, the fact that someone like me can actually use something this powerful is a real testament to how well it's built and how accessible it is. Kruithne recently released his 2.0 version, and it's just an awesome tool. I'll link their Discord below. There's an entire community around these guys of modders and WoW data miners and tons of people that are a lot smarter than I am, that honestly, these folks think that stuff I show is cringe. Like, why am I looking at stuff that's second nature to all of them? But I appreciate what they do, and I'll link their site and their Patreons below if you want to check them out and support their work like I do. Anyway, I hope this was interesting. No AI in this one, my friends. Thank you for watching and have a great day.